So, Sha'Carri Richardson, track star, was recently arrested at the Seattle airport for domestic violence. She was hitting her boyfriend, abusing her boyfriend. At first, she denied it. It's like, I didn't do anything. And then they looked at the footage. It's like, oh, chica, you got to go. So she got arrested. She was held for 18 hours. The boyfriend would not press charges. And even he said, like, it wasn't right that she got arrested. But for his sake, I'm glad she did because that's documentation. Now, listen, I like Sha'Carri. I think she's a very talented runner. I look forward to her being in the next Olympics. But you just can't be beating on people if you don't get your way. So I guess what happened was they got into an argument. He walked away. She chased him down. Almost like the Jonathan Majors thing. Like she kind of chased him down. He went and talked, and she just started hitting him. And actually, he did the right thing. That's what men's supposed to do. You can't fight an altercation when it comes to fighting with women, arguing with women. You can't out argue a woman. So he kind of did the right thing. It's like, no, I'm walking away. I don't want to talk about it. And she chased him down. And ladies, if you're ever in an argument with a guy and he walks away, it doesn't mean he doesn't love you. He just like, I don't want this thing to escalate, so I'm walking away for your sake and my sake. So I could cool down, you can cool down. We can talk about this later. But Sha'Carri went after him, and she beat up on him, and she denied it, and she got arrested. Now, if this was a guy, if the shoe was on the other foot, and he was a guy and he was a star, track and field star, man, the sponsorships would be pulled. People were saying like he should be running in the next event. He should be canceled. Why would she be with a guy like that? It happens all the time, especially to black men. White guys do domestic violence too in sports, but they don't get the same type of coverage as black men do. But when it comes to women, it happens in the WNBA too. Not all the time, but sometimes you hear about WNBA situations where there's domestic violence and there's never a story. And I think this is wrong. Not to go against women. It's just domestic violence, no matter if it's man on woman, woman on man, woman on woman, guy on guy, even though that's a little bit less than women on woman. You gotta, if you got an issue with that, either A, you gotta go to jail, or B, you gotta get some therapy. Sha'Carri Richardson needs therapy. The few WNBA stories where there was domestic violence, whoever was that person that did it needs therapy or get locked up. They're never going to take anything away from these ladies. They're not going to lose. Sha'Carri's not going to lose any of her sponsorships or anything like that. And I don't want her to lose stuff. But like I said, if it was a guy, it'd be totally different. So if I'm her boyfriend, I'm telling him, okay, you love her. Evidently you love her. Fine. I'm glad she got arrested. Now it's on the record. Because if it happens again, she shows a pattern. If I'm you, I would tell her, you can't be hitting on me like this in public or at home. You need help. You need to talk to a therapist. And I know that her mom passed away like in 2021. And I always said, you know, not to be hypocritical, I always said about when Kanye West, when his mom died, he hasn't been the same guy. And I think Kanye, he lost his mom. His mom was his anchor, and he was starting to abuse drugs and things like that and alcohol. And he hasn't been the same since. He's not been the same since. And it's not an excuse. It's just the way it is. That at first it started off with his mom's death, and now it's turning into something else where I think he's been taking so much stuff that I think it actually messed up his brain, allegedly. In her case, I don't want her to go down that same trap, because Sha'Carri has had a rough upbringing. She probably has some anger issues. She lost her mom. She keeps on trying to find love, because before this, I think she dated a woman before him. She needs intense therapy. And I wish, to be honest, I wish her boyfriend kind of pressed charges, because then they would say you can either go to jail or go to therapy. And if I'm her handlers, if I'm her manager or anybody, I'm saying to her, we need a morals clause here where if you do this again, we're going to drop you. But the one way you can save yourself is by going to therapy. So if I'm her manager, if I'm her boyfriend, if I'm anybody, I'm telling her you need therapy, and not just one-on-one off. You need like a couple years therapy to work through your own issues. It could be from childhood, could be from present day, could be something DNA, could be biological. We don't know. We don't know. Might be some brain chemistry stuff happening. But she needs help, just like men needs help a lot of times with domestic violence too, because sometimes they grew up in a domestic household and they see that and they normalize it because they think that's normal. So for Sha'Carri Richardson, she's not going to lose anything because she's a lady. But I'm telling you, if ladies do domestic violence, you got to lose something. And or go to therapy. Because if not, you're just sweeping this under the rug. So what do you think about Sha'Carri Richardson? Do you feel sad for her? Do you think she needs therapy? Do you think she needs to be locked up? Do you think she's crazy? And if you're talking to her boyfriend, what do you tell him? What should he do? Because the worst thing is they get into another argument. They both fighting. She gets cut, and then the police shows up. There's no camera. Like at least at the airport, they can prove that she did it. If there's no camera at the house, they look at him. They look at her. She might have a bloody lip or something like that. They ask him what happened. We say we got into a fight. Who gets arrested? Him. Whose name is plastered out there? Him. Who loses sponsorships? Him. So do you tell him you can love her, but you can't fight with her? You can love her, but keep on walking away? You can love her from afar? If you love her, break up with her? If you stay, there's a risk? Like, what do you say to a guy who really loves his woman, but she's a domestic abuser?